Welcome to my session. My name is Reshma Kapoor and I'm a Senior Program Manager on the Microsoft Feedback team. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about leveraging user feedback about Microsoft in your organization. How can you use the user feedback signal that Microsoft uses for its applications and for improving its products in your organization? Our agenda is how Microsoft leverages feedback. What does Microsoft do with feedback? How do we collect it? What do we do to process it? How do we use it as a signal to really drive improvements into all of our M365 products? What have we heard from you as far as top admin asks? We've been chatting with you with admins over a long period of time, and there's some things that have surfaced as definite things that would help improve your efficiency and how you manage your organization. What is our vision with this work and space that we're going into, and what are some of the opportunities that we're venturing into here? What are some of the investment areas that we're looking at as we get into the space and build it in the next year or two? And then finally, what is happening in Wave 1 and what are our deliverables and a walkthrough of that. So let's talk about how Microsoft collects feedback and what it does with it. We have a feedback lifecycle, and the very first phase of that lifecycle is listen. We listen to a lot of different signals around feedback, reporting a problem, surveys, suggestions, app store, community, build quality surveys. There's a lot out there where the users are saying things about our product, and we want to listen to all those channels and incorporate that into how we take that data, analyze it, and figure out how we improve based on user sentiment and based on the problems that users are running into. Once we finish the listen phase, the next phase is analyze and prioritize. So we do things like grouping, intent analysis, machine translation, routing to the right teams and the right products, and then finally getting it on backlogs and doing planning and work item creation for the various things that we're hearing in the signals from the user. Then we will move into the phase of continuous improvement, and it is truly continuous improvement. There's product fixes, help article updates, backlog creation that all go into that, but really the goal there is how can we take what the users are saying and incorporate that into improvements that we're making to the product, even into planning for new suggestions that might come up for product features that users want. That entire phase goes into eventually trying to improve the product. And that is a continuous thing that we do with feedback. And lastly, how do we close the loop? So the most important thing, and probably the one that's least understood right now outside of Microsoft, is that feedback is something that Microsoft does listen to. And it is something that we act upon. And it is something that we want to use to truly improve the product. We do have things like my feedback and status updates and release notes, message center integration, training suggestions are all areas that we're investing in to help close the loop with the customers and with the IT admins on things that we're hearing in feedback and then we're eventually improving in the product, or maybe even opportunities for the tenant to provide additional training in their organizations so that we can actually close the loop on the feedback with the user, but it may not be direct product improvements. Okay, so we just talked about the entire life cycle of feedback and how we're listening to the signal that the users are providing and actually trying to improve the product. I would also like to touch upon and give you some examples of what feedback means to us. What does it mean to Microsoft? There's different types of feedback that are being collected, and they range from things that are happening in the community and how we're doing answers and forums and different things out there where the community is engaging and giving feedback. But there's also product surfaces where feedback is being collected. And that's what I want to focus on today. So there's two types of feedback that we typically collect within product surfaces of all of M365. So every M365 app has both user-initiated feedback and surveys. And the purpose of those are both to collect satisfaction and to get user experiences of how they feel about using the product, what types of problems they ran into, or what suggestions they would recommend to improve things, or even what they liked. But ultimately, they surface in two different ways. So user-initiated feedback is feedback where There's going to be different entry points that appear across the products that the user can leverage to actually give feedback to Microsoft. And there's also in-product surveys where we're taking an opportunity to ask the users how did they like their experience with the application? How would they rate it? Would they recommend it to others? Those are the types of things that show up in surveys. Now, both of these show up in both the application and in Windows Feedback Hub. And our team spans both. Our team is working on all of M365 and looking at all of those surfaces and how we can use the feedback collected from those surfaces to improve the products. One thing I did want to mention here is privacy by default is the mantra that we live by in the feedback system. So we do collect user data, we collect information about the experiences that the user is having, but we follow all of the 6 key privacy principles as we're collecting the data and as we're storing the data. All of that is at the core of how we're processing, collecting, storing, and closing the loop on feedback. So now let's talk about what are some of the key things that we've heard from admins in this past year, and with all of our engagements with various IT admins that we, meet at events, different focus groups, et cetera, et cetera. Some of the key asks that we've had are around feedback experience controls are complicated and distributed for M365 apps. What that means for most IT admins is that it's complicated for them to go to different locations to try and set policies for what feedback experience should look like. And we're trying to have a solution there by centralizing and making it easy to configure feedback experience controls. We're starting with a core set of apps initially with that, but we're going to expand it so that all applications can fall under that control. The second ask that we've heard is they would like to manage what additional data is or is not allowed to be sent with feedback verbatims. And in some companies, this is very important because they want to really have a better handle over what additional metadata is sent to Microsoft. And they want to still send the verbatim, but they may not want to send things like screenshots or logs. So one of the solutions coming there is we're introducing granular settings that configure what data is allowed to be sent with verbatims. The third area that we've had an ask is IT admins would like to manage how Microsoft should engage and respond to feedback from their org. What this essentially means is that they want to have granular settings that let them configure how Microsoft communicates with and engages with their customers. So that is another setting that we're introducing. And this could include things like asking clarifying questions or sharing resolutions. Another area that we've heard is they would like to see feedback. They want transparency into the feedback being submitted by the IWs. This is in fact one of the top asks. And so another thing coming in this space as a solution is we're introducing a new view in the admin portal that will allow tenant admins to log in and see the feedback that their IW has submitted. Now, feedback is great, but if you can't take any action on it, it's not super helpful. It'll help you, see trends and all that, but you really would like to take some action on it. And so we are also investing in introducing prioritization, routing, and taking action on feedback. And that's something that is another ask that's coming in. So actions and bidirectional communication is going to be at the core of one of the solutions that's coming there. And finally, trends and insights. That's another area that has been asked for by IT admins. And so we are introducing summaries, trends, and insight views on top of feedback data that will really allow you to see what is happening in your organization, and more on that later. So what's our vision? Why are we investing in this space? We really want to help you leverage user feedback to understand and improve the health of your organization, leading to gains in efficiency. We see feedback as a super valuable signal for Microsoft. We use it to improve our products, and we think that partnering on the signal can really help both of us be successful. Okay, so now let's talk about the IT admin feedback investment areas that we're looking at. Where do we plan on investing as we build out the space over the next couple of years? What are the important pillars that we're going to look at here? So the very first pillar here that's important and core to this is controlling of feedback experiences. I touched upon this a little bit earlier, but just to reiterate, This area is all about control of elements of feedback experience. This could be things like how the feedback experience looks. Does it have additional metadata collection enabled or not? It could be around additional disclaimers that need to get added into the feedback experience. It could be about what types of feedback are allowed to be collected for your organization. It really gives the control to the IT admin to configure feedback how they see fit for their organization. And within this, we're also offering things like export and AIP integration. And AIP integration is super important and actually a feature that we've heard a lot about from IT admins, because it gives them the peace of mind that with the data and the verbatims that are being collected, the same rules are being run on that data so that they can feel secure about it and we can feel secure about collecting it. So these are all things that are coming in this space. The things that are coming more immediately and the ones that are under progress or under development in progress are the control of the elements of the feedback experience, the control of where and what types of feedback can be collected, and export. The second pillar is around transparency and control of the data. We want to build trust with you and your organizations. That is one of our key goals. And we want to be transparent about the data that we're collecting and have it benefit you as much as it's benefiting us. So some of the scenarios under this pillar are deleting of data, partial or full, having some sort of wrapper or rule-based APIs before submission, and intercepting data for various clouds. This all helps us get the signal and you be able to monitor and modify the signal as you see fit for your organization. The next pillar here is engagement and response. This is very important. Feedback is not useful if the user never hears back on feedback. They take time to give feedback, and we realize that it's very important to hear back on what happened with the feedback. How did it get resolved? So engagement and response is at the core of any feedback system, as it is ours. And in this area, scenarios like controlling how Microsoft communicates to users is definitely one of the ones that's in progress that we're working on. But other things in this area are around feedback integration with help desk of your organization, which is something that we've heard very loudly and clearly from you as a way to resolve feedback. Feedback integration with things like what's new and release notes so that you can clearly see how feedback is helping or how it's influencing things that are coming within the product, and message center integration from feedback insights or from feedback, which really helps you provide that link between what you're hearing in feedback and then messaging back to your IWs. The next pillar here is viewing data, status, and insights from feedback. So in this space, what we're already working on and lighting up soon is flat list views into feedback data, sharing the data back. This falls into both pillar number 2 and this pillar around us exposing the feedback data that we've collected for your organization back to you. Things that are coming in the space are status updates on feedback, being able to do trends based on app, channel, build, or department so that you can really see what is happening in your organization. Is one app doing better than other? Is one app more satisfactory than other? Or is there some user training that might be needed in one particular area or application or department even within your organization that would help the satisfaction and the efficiency go up? Also comparing things like your own tenant versus tenants like me is another area that falls into this. Admin feedback versus org feedback. So how do we differentiate feedback that's coming from employees within your organization and feedback that you're submitting as an IT admin? And a summary view of emerging and top issues. Again, this is not the full and complete list of all the scenarios that fall into this pillar, but these are some opportunities that we are definitely pursuing and investing in, and we would love to get feedback on whether these are the right places to invest or what else we need to think about here. So the last pillar is taking action on feedback. Actionable feedback is core to a good feedback system. When feedback results in action, it results in improvements to the product and it results in changes that result in positive satisfaction for the user. in this pillar, there's things like promoting to support tickets, taking actions like triaging, +1ing or raising priority by the IT admin, promoting user training based on trends and insights that Microsoft is providing to you so that you can use that recommendation to provide the right training to your organization, survey creation by IT admins, doing custom survey creation, and then feedback integration with channel management. So us flagging for you how moving to a particular build or going from channel to a different channel is going to, how the feedback signal is different between builds or different between channels will help you make decisions of how to do the upgrades and how to move from channel to channel or build to build. Okay, so now let's get into what we're delivering for wave 1. What I just discussed were all the opportunities that exist for what can happen in the future and where we'll be investing long term. But in wave 1, there's certain things that we're already working on lining up for you very soon so that you can start leveraging the signal right away. As part of wave 1, one of the first things is granular controls for feedback. This is one area that we've heard loud and clear from a lot of the feedback that you've given to us before, that you want to be able to control that experience and really control elements within that experience. So we're bringing it to you. And what we're doing in that space is we're introducing new feedback management controls. So it will let you manage how your users give feedback to Microsoft across M365. You can target users and groups where feedback would be a valuable signal, so it offers group targeting. You can configure communication flow and what metadata is collected with feedback. We're targeting Office apps initially and expanding to centralize to all of M365 under one set of controls eventually. Again, privacy by default is a principle on the data that is collected here, and we keep it in mind as we're designing these controls. So let's go through the UX walkthrough. So where we're introducing this is in the Apps Admin Center. So if you go to config.office.com, that's where you manage policies for a lot of Office already, and so that is where these new policies for feedback will be surfacing themselves. So when you log in, you would be clicking the customization node, and under the customization node on the left-hand side panel, you'll see policy management. When you click policy management, you then get thrown into the page that's about creating policies and managing policies for your organization. You might already have some policies that you've created here for your organization. If you click create on this page in the top bar, you will get taken to a create policy configuration. You can name it whatever you like and give it whatever description fits that particular policy. And that is also where you can then do group targeting. So if you have AAD groups set up for your organization, you can decide how to do group targeting with this. And you can also decide whether this applies to all users or not, right? So all those same things that come with policy management on config.office.com apply to these policies as well. And when you go to configure policies, which is kind of the last step in this configuration, you would search for feedback. And if you search for feedback, you'll basically see all the different policies that are now being introduced by us as part of this wave 1. I will walk through those policies that we're introducing. So the first policy that we're introducing is allow users to submit feedback to Microsoft. This policy is about user-initiated feedback. So if you reference back to what I talked about at the beginning of the talk, where we have two different types of feedback that we're focused on, one is surveys and one is user-initiated feedback. This first policy controls user-initiated feedback. Within this policy, you would be able to control what feedback entry points and buttons show up across the applications. So by configuring this policy, you would basically be able to control what your users see as far as options to give feedback. The second policy that we're introducing is about allowing users to receive and respond to in-product surveys about their product experience from Microsoft. So this policy is all about, can we survey your users? Can Microsoft survey your users? The third policy, and in fact the next three policies that I'm going to talk about, those really only apply if the first two are enabled. The next policy is about allowing users to include log files and content samples with feedback submitted to Microsoft. This really lets you control what can be additionally submitted by your users. And it would be something that the user would opt in to do, but it allows your users to submit additional information to Microsoft that helps us troubleshoot and make the actionability of the feedback higher. The fourth policy is around allowing users to include screenshots and attachments with feedback submitted to Microsoft. This one basically gives your users a choice to attach additional things like screenshots, which again helps us to troubleshoot and increase the actionability of feedback. The fifth policy is allowing Microsoft to follow up on feedback submitted by users. This policy controls whether Microsoft can follow up on feedback submitted by users to help understand the feedback, troubleshoot an issue submitted through feedback, and then share back how Microsoft used the feedback to improve the product. So these are the new 5 policies that we are introducing within the Apps Admin Center that you will be able to use. These are all under development, and we're expecting this to go live in the next month or so. So we just talked about the various granular controls that we're giving for feedback, but let's talk about the other side of the equation now, which is how do we give you transparency into the feedback that is being collected once you've configured the policies correctly, or for feedback that's already been received. So the next part of Wave 1 is feedback data views. We're introducing things that will help you view and manage feedback from across your organization. You'll have the ability to filter feedback by apps, channel, and a few other variations. You can follow up with users internally to see what happened with the feedback, or if there's an issue that needs to get resolved within your tenant, basically take action on the feedback. It really builds the foundation for actions, insights, and trends for org feedback that is coming later. This is also something that's coming to private preview by the end of the year and then going to GA after that. So now let's walk through what the experience for this looks like. So we're introducing a new feedback node within the admin portal, and that new feedback node will allow you to log in and see feedback from across your organization that users have submitted on various applications. When you come into this page, it shows you a flat list view of all of the feedback that was collected. It shows you things like application that it was collected from, when it was submitted, who the user was that submitted it, did it have any attachments. And then if you go into the details panel for any of this feedback by clicking on the feedback comment itself, the user comment that was submitted, you'll be able to see additional details like what was the feedback type? Was it a survey or was it user-initiated feedback? What platform was it done on? What's the build number that it was submitted on? What language was it submitted in? Other information like what channel it came from. And if it was a survey, what was the survey question and what were the options and what was the response that the user chose? This really builds the foundation. This data sharing really builds the foundation for us to then build upon and do summaries and trends and insights off of this feedback. But with this offering, what it does for you is it really gives you the transparency into the feedback and lets you then communicate to us and let us know what types of trends and insights would be useful here. How can we help take this data and summarize it for you and bring some insights to you so you can use it better within your organization? So that's it. That's what we're delivering in Wave 1. We will have granular controls for you for managing feedback for your organization. And we're also introducing views so that you can get transparency into what feedback is being submitted by your organization and really understand what your user sentiment on the M365 products is and how we can partner together to take that sentiment and turn it into a positive one. That being said, this is a big space that we're investing in, and there's a lot of opportunities here. So we really want to hear from you. We want to partner with you to co-build this space, and we want to hear from you on how can we build the space together and how can we come to the right experiences that should be built into Wave 2 and future deliverables. To that end, the call to action for you here is if you want to partner with Microsoft to co-build the space, I encourage you to join our preview program where you'll be able to provide one-on-one feedback to us and influence how we invest and build upon Wave 1. There's a survey that you should be seeing here, and that survey will allow you to give information, answer some questions around the space, and give information to us on your interest in joining the preview program. So I am super excited to build and partner in the space with you all. Join our preview program where you can provide feedback and influence how we invest and build upon Wave 1 to really rebuild and reshape what this looks like for listening to our users and really understanding their sentiment and improving the health of both products and organizations. Take the survey that's shown on the screen so we can learn more about your interest in this area and potentially partner together. We are also working on public documentation that will walk through how Microsoft uses feedback and all the stuff that I covered in the session in terms of where you can find policies and how you can manage your feedback. All of that will be covered in the public documentation. So definitely reference that and read that. And if you have any other questions or if you have anything that you want to learn more about, please feel free to reach out to the email that's shown on the screen there. Thank you for watching this video, and I'm super excited to partner with you all. Bye-bye.